This is Mohamed Qissi, alias Tong Po, in the movie Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. You are listening to Justin Ray Harvey. Justin Ray Harvey.
Hello, this is Melissa Qissi, the wife of legendary actor Mohamed Qissi. He is also known as Tong Po and the star of the movie Kickboxer. You are listening to our good friend Justin Ray Harvey.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only here, Justin Ray Harvey, on the Justin Harvey Show. Today I have a special show for you guys to conduct, which I'm very happy to do. As you all know, I interviewed the legendary Mohamed Qissi, a.k.a. Tom Poe from Kickboxer, and I wanted to bring a special friend to me on the show, and without further ado, here she is, the wife of the legendary Tom Poe, Mohamed Qissi, Melissa Qissi. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Hi, nice to be here with you, Justin. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm excited to have you, dear, and I got to tell my audience, me, you, and Mohamed have been, having conversations on social media and all that a couple months now, and the time has just, Melissa, to be honest, the time has flew by, so.
Yeah, but I always enjoy your conversations. You're such a sweetheart, and I'm so proud of you, and I enjoy talking to you, and I know Mohamed does as well.
Oh, thank you, dear. I really appreciate that. And my first question is, and how did you meet Mohamed? And kind of give my audience that story to begin with, because I think that's interesting in itself. But before we get to that, Melissa, kind of give people your background and where you come from. So,
I was born in South Dakota in the United States. My dad's family had come from Odessa, Ukraine, and they were French and Russian. And my mom's family was originally from Scandinavia, Czechoslovakia, and they both of those families ended up migrating to the U.S., and then they met, and then came along little old me in South Dakota, and then I've kind of moved all around the place. I've lived in Las Vegas and Atlanta, Utah, and so I ended up moving to Las Vegas and then moving back to Utah for a while, and then pretty soon I'll be moving to California. So that's kind of that's where my family's from.
Wow, that's amazing. And you were telling me, and I think this is like one of our first conversations, that when you were growing up, you really liked Kickboxer, and I mean it amazes me that that you're married to the guy that actually played one of the baddest guys on the planet, and which brings me to this statement, people. Don't judge a book by its cover, because even though somebody might play a bad guy on a movie or something, they could be the sweetest person on this planet.
That is so true. So many people talk to me and talk to Mohamed and tell both of us, oh my gosh, when I watched Kickboxer and I saw Tong Po, he was so, scary, and he was so this and he was so that, and just terrifying, and you would never know in real life. He's like the sweetest, most loving, kind human being. Like, he's like the turn the other cheek person, and the, like, you know, not lift up a hand towards some. I mean, he literally is like so just calm and like thoughtful, and that's the type of person he is. I mean, it blows me away all the time. So we joke around. I'm like, how could you play such a beast and then be such a little teddy bear? But he truly is a little teddy bear in real life. That's the way he is.
Well, absolutely, Melissa. And here's another reason I respect Muhammad Qissi. Not only that, but he promotes kids to stay away from drugs and all the bad stuff. You know, I mean, I commend him on that as well. So
that's something that's very, very, very important to him, and he has done a lot of social work. I mean, just on his own accord, going around and talking, you know, going to dojos and going to schools and things like that, so that he can teach kids to enroll themselves and involve themselves in activities, and whatever their activity is, to keep them, you know, busy and feeling like they're accomplishing something, and give them a sense of self-worth. And he always recommends Shotokan karate, because it's, it's not an aggressive type of sport. It's something that's about peace and about defense. So he always is doing things like that. And even as we speak, I mean, even when, you know, he comes back, when he's done filming in Morocco, you know, we're looking for, you know, places for him so he can go do a lot of social work and talk to kids and keep them off of drugs. He's very, very adamant about that and passionate about that. And I find that, you know, and he doesn't just say it. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the walk. He's very, very much an example in that regard.
Absolutely, Melissa. Because like when I first approached Muhammad about, you know, doing an interview, you know, he's like, you know, absolutely. And then I produced some of my, you know, latest work, and I about hit the floor when he sent me a voice message back saying, you know, I love your work. And, you know, I had no idea that I was going to, you know, build a really good friendship with you guys. You know, it's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's so nice. It really is nice. I mean, who would have thought that all of these years ago that, I mean, that's the wonderful thing about it, is that it was, you know, the ambition and the precursor of all of this, the preemptive of Jean-Claude and Mohammed coming to America from Belgium and living their dream, and then having these passionate, you know, viewpoints and working so hard, and then they made this movie. And then from it, I mean, I can see, like, with the fans and the friends and everything like that, I never really knew how, you know, much that affected people. And people say that all the time. You know, that movie kept me off the streets. That movie kept me out of drugs. It made me push myself so I could work out harder at the gym, or I could, you know, walk finally from, you know, like, my accident, or, you know, like, the people use that as a pivotal point. And I was the same way when I was a kid. When I first saw the movies, I was addicted to them. I couldn't believe, I mean, it spoke to me, and I had no idea whatsoever I would ever meet Muhammad Qissi. But it's such a wonderful thing, and I think that everyone finds everyone finds something within that work and that passion that Jean-Claude and Mohammed put out that says something to them, and they can, like, you know, become affiliated with each other with. And I think that that's so amazing. I think it's brought a lot of people together, and I think that that's wonderful. It's something that, it's the gift that keeps on giving, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And not to get my audience confused, because they're like Muhammad, you know, because I want to mention that for a long time, Muhammad's acting name was Michelle Qissi. So I just wanted to also put that in there as well, so my audience, you know, doesn't get confused. Michelle and Muhammad are the same person. So.
Yes, and I think, I don't know every detail of that story, but from what Muhammad's told me, I think, you know, when he was working, I think that sometimes unfortunately, the name Muhammad brought some stereotype, and he was working with, I think the name might have come from Jean-Claude's dad. I think he might have started calling him that. I'll have to ask Muhammad exactly, but so it's a name they started calling him because when he was little, he was working when he was like a teenager, and he was doing grocery delivery, so they started calling him Michel. I'll have to ask the exact details on it. I forgot, but yeah, so he was known as Michel for a long time, and then even recently when, he's been talking about, coming over and doing movies in America, because he's been doing them successfully, across seas, he says, do you think I should change my name? Like, should I stick with Michelle or should I go with Muhammad? And I'm like, you should stay with Muhammad. That's a beautiful name. I mean, that's your name. That's the name that your parents gave you, your mommy and daddy gave you, and it signifies something wonderful. And I think that, like all of his credentials, like, are lined up with that. So I'm like, I don't know. But people do call him Michelle all the time, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. To me, he's Muhammad.
Because when I first approached him, Melissa, and this is funny because I'm sure Muhammad could tell you this to verify, but when I first, approached him, one of my first messages to Muhammad was, what should I call you? Should I call you Muhammad? Should I call you Michelle? Because I grew up, him as Michelle Qissi, and I'm like, I don't want to offend you, sir, but, what should I call you? So he's like, you can call me Michelle or Muhammad, and I just kind of, the name Muhammad just kind of, grew on me. So.
Yeah, that's what he said to me too. I'm like, what do I call you? When I first really met him and became his friend, he's like, you can call me whatever you want. I'm like, okay, hi baby. Just kidding.
She said it, ladies and gentlemen, not me, because you'll never catch me calling Muhammad Qissi a crybaby. He'll fly to West Virginia just to kick my ass.
No. You're so funny. Yeah, it was kind of crazy when the story of how we met, it is kind of crazy in the century of social media.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a good, story in itself. If you want to share how y'all actually met, that would be great.
Well, like, as you know, like, I've always been a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme and his movies. I mean, honestly, those were the first movies that I ever started watching, like, on my own as a child, to where it's like I rented that movie. Every movie he made, I rented. I watched it. I wanted to see it. I owned it. I loved the movies. And so of course, I remember being, a teenager, and I was watching, like, Kickboxer, and I was just loving every minute of it. I mean, we all know we love those moments, the licking of the glass and and the whole thing, you know what I mean? And so I'm, like, watching this movie, and I'm just thinking, oh, my gosh, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme is such an amazing actor, and I think always Tong Po, I thought, wow, that guy's crazy good. I just thought he was awesome, And so, when I was on Facebook, how you push your likes and what you want, for your profile, and I liked Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it put me into like a forum for Jean-Claude. And so, I would make remarks on stuff with movies and push, I like this and I like that. And we had a friend, a fellow fan, his name was Joe Van Mueller, and he messaged me one day and he said, I noticed that you really like the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And I said, of course I do. And he said, well, do you know who Muhammad Qissi is? And I said, no, I don't. And he said, are you joking? And I was like, oh, I don't know who you're talking about. And he said, Muhammad Qissi, he played Tong Po. And I was like, oh, of course I know who Tong Po is. And he's just like, well, he's a really sweet guy. He's awesome. He's the sweetest person you'll ever meet. He's so adorable. Like, he you should send him a friendship request. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I can't. In my mind, I was like consorting with myself, like, why would, he accept my friendship request to him? That, I didn't think that was something that would ever happen. And well, I was like, okay. So I sent Muhammad a friendship request, and I think like a month or 3 weeks went by or something like that, and I got all of a sudden like a message from him. He like commented on my picture. He said something to me in my inbox that was cute, and I was like, "Is what?" and so I said, "Thank you." I'm like, "It's such an honor to be your friend, and I appreciate your work." And and I was just like that on that regard. And he was so nice back. And then it just started from there. We were friends, and then we just kept talking, and it grew and it grew. And then he finally told me, he said, I actually have like a lot of friendship requests, like thousands of them. And he said, I was at the house, and he said I was going through, I think he said he was with Jean-Claude, and he said I just decided to get on Facebook, because he said when I started Facebook, he said I never really, was on it that much. He had his assistant and his agent and all, they were mostly starting it, and they said, well, we should start this profile as a professional profile, like you're a public figure. And Muhammad was like, no, just do a personal one. He's like, make it open to the fans so that they can friend me and they can message me and they can post to my wall, and, make it friendly like that, because that's the type of person he is. He's very personable, and he has that like attitude of just very kind, and approachable. And so he said, I was never really on Facebook. And he said, then I got on Facebook, and he said, and I saw, all my friendship requests. And he's like, I was running down the line, and he's like, then I saw your face, and he's like, I stopped. And then he's like, who is this? But he told me, he said, I wanted to make sure you weren't psychotic. Some crazy woman. And so he said, I watched you for a couple weeks and looked at your posts and looked at your pictures and made sure, he's like, I wanted to know the person that you were. And so then, we became friends, and he was so sweet and so loving and so personable. And we just began, talking from there, and then the relationship started. And we always say that to each other. We're like, this is so crazy. Like, how in the world did, two people from different parts of the world meet each other? And so we always say, to Joe Van Mueller, thank you for suggesting that I send him a friendship request. And I don't know, it's crazy. It's like a modern day story, and I know that, like, and of course, like, all the people that were involved in our lives were like, is that really him? Who is he? Is that a catfish? And then people would say the same thing to him. Well, maybe she's just some psychotic person who's posting pictures of other people.
Wow, that's amazing in itself. And I'm going to go on record here, Melissa, and say that knowing you and Muhammad, and actually being friends with you and Muhammad, I feel, and this is the honest truth, I feel like I'm in heaven. I mean, because if my brother was still around today, he would be so proud that, I was able to contact, Muhammad and you and do these interviews, because there was a time I went through like a depression, and before he had passed, he said, you really need to get back into your shows because you love doing it and you're good at it. And so in a way, with me doing these shows, I'm honoring my brother's memory. So he would be very proud, because me and him used to watch Kickboxer and do the Tom Poe poses and the cheer. And I mean, it's just, Kickboxer brings back a lot of memories. So
that's so sweet. And every time you talk about that, you tug at my heartstrings. And like the video you posted the other day with you and your brother, like, by the time I got to the face of him, I just bawled. And I think that you're such an amazing, wonderful person and such an inspiration. Literally, I'm not just saying words of, literally, like, when I look at you, like, you're so happy, you're so loving, you're so sweet, and you're doing so many good things, and you just keep, like, pushing. You know, you've accomplished so much, and other people, you know, can't even say what you've done because they have their own excuses and their own this and their that, but it's like you literally have just done so many wonderful things and, like, believed in yourself, and people love you for that because you're such a sweet, earnest, genuine human being, and I know your brother is proud of you. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate. It breaks my heart that things like this happen. It's the worst possibility. It's a nightmare, but I mean, I know that, you know, without getting too, like, religious, he's in God's heart, and he's there with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to see him again, and what you're doing right now is an homage to him. Like, you're just doing wonderful things, and I know that, like, you're something to be proud of. And even your little sweet mommy, when I read her, you know, messages on Facebook and stuff like that, same thing. Like, yeah, and that's the right thing, is to follow what your family says. They know what makes you happy, you know what I mean? For him to be able to tell you that and look and you're doing it, like, I know that like, you've expressed to me on our, you know, private conversations as friends, that it does make you feel stronger. It does help you get through your trials. It does make things a little bit easier. And so your brother knew that. So you're doing a wonderful thing for him and for you to be pursuing, you know, your dreams like this. And people love you because, Justin, you're a good person. And I'm proud to be your friend.
I thank you, Melissa. And like I was telling you earlier, I wanted to share with you on air. I was in the car the other day, and I was watching Kickboxer on my iPad, which I do that pretty religiously now. Like, when I go on a road trip, and I started to get, like, car sick, and, you know, because I do have problems with that, and especially with the health issues that I've been dealing with right now. And my mom immediately said to me, she said, it's going to be okay. Just watch Tom Poe kick JCVD's butt, and you'll be fine.
It's true.
But take my audience through possibly a typical day with you, because I have to commend you, honestly. I mean, I commend Muhammad, but wives of superstars like Muhammad, to me, they make the real sacrifice, because they have to spend so much time away from their loved one because of, you know, movies and promotions and the fans. You know, take us through, you know, a typical day of Melissa Qissi.
My typical day is not so, you know, extravagant. It's just, you know, a lot of work, a lot of phone calls. I try to assist Muhammad the best I can. Sometimes he'll send me stuff for screenplays and be like, what do you think about this portion? What do you think about that portion? Do you think I should rewrite this? We're introducing a new character. Things like that, you know, like he always gets my opinion for things. And so I'm usually very busy doing work and a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of research, things like that. And I spend, you know, I'm soaking up a lot of time with my family as much as I can right now, because, like I said, we'll be, you know, once he gets done with his filming for the Pact, well, he might name it an Eye for an Eye now. And once he gets done filming for that, we'll be moving to California. So I spend all my extra time, you know, trying to be with my little nephews and things like that. But Muhammad always, he's so good about always involving me, like, even if he's off, you know, when he was with Jean-Claude on their 360 World Tour thing, like if he was in Cannes or Russia and he was meeting Vladimir, I forgot his name, the president. Let's say Putin. Oh, God, I'm going to get crucified for this. And Did I just make myself sound dumb? Yes. And when he was, going to all these places with Jean-Claude, he always involves me. He always calls me. He's such a sweet husband. Like, he'll call me during the day and text me and say, I miss you, I love you. And then he'll call me every night and let me know what's going on. And the crazy thing, and then he'll be like, someone wants to say hi to you, and it was Jean-Claude. And he's like, Melissa. This is Jean-Claude, how are you? And I was like, oh my God. It was kind of crazy. And I guess when Jean-Claude got off the phone, he told Muhammad, he said, she's kind of different. And he's like, oh my God, what do you mean different? And he's like, she didn't seem like she was that excited to talk to me. But because when Jean-Claude first called me, he had a really bad cold, and so he didn't sound like himself, so I thought Muhammad was playing a trick on me. So the whole time Jean-Claude was talking to me, I was like, okay, yeah. And he's like, you're going to come to California, and you're going to come visit us and walk around with us on set, and he was so gratuitous and so sweet. And I was like, yeah, during the time, actually, my mom was going through a health condition, and so I was trying to take care of her, so I couldn't make the trip. But on the back of my mind, I thought, Muhammad's playing a trick on me. And then it was really actually Jean-Claude talking to me, and I didn't know it.
That is funny. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And then I think they were, getting ready to take off on their plane at one point. And they were going from France to Russia or something like that. And then I got to speak to Jean-Claude again, and he's like, Melissa, when are you going to come and visit us? And I was telling him, with stuff with my passport and trying to do this and trying to do that. And he's like, okay, I love you. But he's like, frankly, I'm getting sick of hearing about you. All Muhammad does is Melissa this, Melissa. He's like, get over here so I don't have to deal with this anymore. Oh, he's so sweet. He's so hilarious. He's very, very funny. And so Muhammad always, no matter what he's doing, he's doing so much right now. He's with his movie, he's directing, he's producing, he's co-producing, he's playing 2 characters in the movie. And he's manhandling everything, and he's good at it, but it's a lot of work. And so he always, no matter what he does, he's such a good husband. He always makes time and says hello and I love you and talks to me. And, so it is hard. It is hard being away from each other and being so far apart for now. But, there's a destination and there's an expiration date to this particular thing. So it's good. We look forward to it. We're excited. We're planning, looking for our place and all of that. So it's nice. So, people ask us all the time, how do you do that? I don't know how we're doing it. It's hard. I want my husband with me. I want him next to me. I love him. And he wants to be with me too, but at the same time, we have a lot of fun and we talk a lot, and we're excited to, make our plans. And once filming's over, then we're going to start that. So that's going to be great.
Oh, awesome, Melissa. And do you believe that everything happens for a reason? Because honestly, I don't think it was coincidence that we actually met. I think that it was supposed to have happened, and I think that it was part of my destiny because, as I shared in a private conversation, when I was little, people would make fun of me because I would watch Bloodsport and Kickboxer religiously, and look at where I'm at today.
Yeah. I was probably raised, with the belief that things happen, spontaneously and coincidentally, and but I've noticed more as I grow older that there is a synchronicity. I don't know if I'm saying the word right, but things synchronize and things perpetuate themselves, and they meld and they marry, and I think you put a certain energy out there, and I think that it's going to come back to you. I think you reap what you sow. How could you not? When you when you're in a position to where you're thinking about something all the time and you're reaching out to that all the time, I mean, you're going to touch it, and it's going to bring it into your atmosphere. So I do think that, and I think that it's a wonderful, beautiful gift. I think it's amazing. I know that I've told, Muhammad before I met him, I was in a really bad relationship, abusive relationship, and I think I spent my whole youth watching Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and watching, Muhammad in his movies, and one of the worst nights of my life, I remember I put in his movie, I put in Kickboxer, and I was watching, the movie, and I fell asleep. I know this sounds sappy, but I fell asleep to the movie, and I remember I had tears in my eyes, and I was crying, and I said, please, God, please, just, I want to be a good person, and I am a good person, and I just want, a husband who loves me, and I want a normal life, and I want, just the good things. I just want that. Please help me get that. And I fell asleep, and the last thing I saw was Tong Po, flipping around in the ring in this little man gear. And that's the last thing I saw. And I had no idea, a year and a half or 2 years later, that I would actually meet the love of my life. And it wasn't even the situation to where I was some groupie who was pursuing it and writing in and, sending messages. And I had no idea. It was completely 100% boop, there it is. And I was oh my God. So I look back at that and I think, wow, there has to be some sort of something is meant to be or something sort of energy, and I see that. I do see that with the friends that I've met on Facebook, with the wonderful fans of my husband and his friend Jean-Claude, and also with you, and your experiences that you tell me and the way that you feel about things and the strength that things give you. I think that there's something very, very beautiful and very, very patterned, whether we can understand it or not. I do agree with that. I think it's humbling. I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely. One thing that I can clarify, Melissa, is one thing that I do know for sure. I don't know if I will ever get Jean-Claude Van Damme booked for a show, ladies and gentlemen, but I do know for a fact that he does know of me through Muhammad, because I got a message from Muhammad. I think it was a month ago. He said that Muhammad actually told JCVD about me and what I've been doing. It's just a matter of getting a hold of JCVD. Sure. Yeah,
and I'm sure that will happen, because if you've watched, any of JC's videos and stuff, when he had his show Behind Closed Doors, he's very, very emotional, tender person. He's very tender-hearted, and so I think that would be something that touches his heart, and I think that he would love to do something like that. He's very, how he is. He's about the environment and about pets and animal rights and the way people are treated, and so he's very loving. So I think something like that would happen. I know he's extremely busy, but but at the same time, I think it's nice that Muhammad said something, and then also I know his friend Waleed. He's also a very sweet, sweet person. So, yeah, I think things will come in time. I think things will be good, Justin.
Oh, absolutely, Melissa, because what I want my audience to understand is, I've worked for years to get to this moment right here, because, there's a lot of radio show hosts out there that say they can get this person and they can get that person, Melissa, but the difference between them and I, they have a manager to go out and, physically get them their guests. And I'm doing everything, on my own, getting the guests and putting the shows together. So.
Yeah, that's very commendable of you and very admirable. And I think that what you're doing, is amazing. And of course, when people have a manager and the people have a team around them, they get, more affiliates and networking and stuff like that. But what you're doing is wonderful, and I think you're truly blessed, and so it's going to be great. And the upside to what you're doing is you're doing it because you have a passion for it, and you're doing it because you have a love for it, and you're doing it because you want to share it with other people, and you're not doing it for money, you're not doing it for prestige, you're not doing it for any of these other things. And so I think it would take a good person in the position to be able to see that and to be able to want to collaborate with that, and you know what I mean? And so that's why it's going to be so good, and that's why it's so precious, you know what I mean? You're not, it's not anything other than that, and I think that that's a beautiful thing. I think that that's the heart of the reason, why, when I always think, no matter what, no matter what Muhammad's done with cinema or Jean-Claude, I always go back to thinking about two little boys in school and how cute they were together. And Muhammad's story was, as he said, they showed up one day, and there was a day at their school that they were supposed to give their mommy something. They were supposed to buy their mommy a gift. Well, Muhammad didn't have any money. And so Jean-Claude opened up his little box, and he shared his money with Muhammad, so Muhammad did a gift for his mommy. And Muhammad's like, that's always the person that I hang on to, that I always remember, is that. And us when we were teenagers, and everyone told us that we couldn't do it, and we were going to be stupid if we moved to America, and we were going to be forlorn. And he said, and we just took everything we had, and we went, and he said, and that's that ambition, that's that thing that we had, something that we felt that we needed to share. And so it's the same thing, with what you're doing. It's the passion, it's the love that you're sharing with people, it's the story, it's the connectivity of the point in something that makes people feel something. And of course there's always a lot of people around the whole thing, agents and this contract and that and money, but it's like the story. You know what I'm saying? That's the story. And so, you're wanting to share the story, and you're wanting to share how the story affected you. And so that's why I think it's so pure and it's so beautiful, and people identify with that. And that's why Muhammad loves you. That's why I love you. And I think that that's why, it's such a wonderful thing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And Melissa, I wanted to get your thoughts on, first I want to say, I want to get your thoughts on two things here. I want to get your thoughts on Kickboxer 2, because Muhammad returned in Kickboxer 2, and I think that's why that one was a success, is because he actually returned to the Kickboxer franchise for that one. And also, I wanted to get your thoughts on, they're in the process of and I said, oh, good Lord, because it's not going to be as good as the classic, but they're in the process of remaking Kickboxer, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well.
I don't know a lot on the subject, to be 100% honest with you. Mm-hmm. I feel in my heart that, Muhammad was the original, he is Tong Po, you know what I mean? That's his personification. But at, the time that things were redone, I think, without saying too much, there was an issue with, loyalty, and there was an issue with some certain things. And I am friends with Kemal Qissi. He's a wonderful person. I think he's great. He's my friend on Facebook. But I think that the major thing is that there was some personal issues with obligations that weren't met between certain people. And so Muhammad decided that he wasn't going to carry through with it. And as his wife, I support him 100%, and I understand 100%. And so, it's no one else's fault. I think that, Kamel did a wonderful job, and I think he's a great person. He really is. He's a sweetheart. I'm friends with him. But yeah, that's kind of there was a little bit of a plink, like a little bit of a drop off. So
yeah, there's one thing that I didn't like though. I mean, he did a good job as Tom Poe in 4. I just didn't like how they turned the character. I didn't like how they turned the character into like a drug lord. You know, I mean, it's like they went off the wall with the Tom Poe character. I mean, I would have loved to have seen like a kickboxer where, you know, Tom Poe kind of feels bad about, you know, breaking the back of Van Damme's brother, and they kind of, you know, reconcile and work together as a team. So.
Yeah. Muhammad actually agrees with that concept, and he's had some people say that to him. Actually, when Kickboxer was made, he actually there was actually a different direction that the script was going. I think on his interview he touched on that, you know, about how he was going through the house and he, you know, hit somebody and then they turned out to be the mother of, and like all this other stuff. And Muhammad's the one who actually implemented a lot of the features with Tong Po's character and Tong Po's story. Muhammad was behind that. Muhammad was actually behind his own character because the men for the movie were looking for, you know, we need a fierce guy, we need a Thai guy, we need da-da-da-da, and they were going on and on. And he said you know, why don't I, you know, be Tong Po? And I think that his name was Tom Po or something like that.
Yeah, Tong Po, T-O-N-G, instead of Tom.
Yeah. And he changed it to Tong Po, and he said, why don't I play the guy? And everyone looked at him, and they said, you're so sweet. You're so cute with your black curly hair. Big smile. You can't do this. And he's like, just let me show you. And so he went through makeup, and they put the prosthetics on him, and they turned him into this beast. And he played the part. And he walked in, you know, where the excuse me for not knowing the lingo of the producers, the casting, whatever. And he came through, and they didn't even recognize him. They're like, oh, we want him. Out of all these guys that they interviewed that were into martial arts and, you know, badasses, they were like, we want him. And they're like, do you know who this is? And they're like, what? So he got that part. He implemented so many things into the part, his looks, his acting, the storyline, and he did a lot for it. And what's really sad, and it's an understory that right now is for another time, but I mean, they put on the credits Tong Po playing himself instead of Tong Po as Muhammad Qissi. And so he needed, you know, it's like people were always confused. They're like, okay, is this a real person? You know what I'm saying? But if people knew that this character that played something so well and so brilliant was this person, I mean, I think that's, you know, so important. So, yeah, and so there's a couple things that happened along the way to where he chose not to participate in the whole, you know, machine of Tong Po. But yes, I mean, I'm not saying this as his wife. I'm saying it as just a fan. I think that he is the Tong Po. He's the original Tong Po. Like, there is no other.
Absolutely not. I mean, he was perfect for the part. And my next question, Melissa, and before I ask this, I do want to say to my audience, Muhammad Qissi actually told me in a message if he's ever in another, like, one of his next films in the U.S., he says, Justin, I'm going to be calling you. And I was like, that's going to be awesome. So, I mean, that's even a possibility, ladies and gentlemen. You may even see me in one of his films. I mean, that would be awesome. But, you know, being surrounded by this, Melissa, have you ever thought of, you know, actually being in a film with Muhammad?
You know, to tell you the honest-to-God truth, I was painfully shy as a child, and to show emotion to people is like the scariest thing to me. And I know that when you're acting, you're portraying emotion. But I'm terrified. I was so shy in school. I was so shy that I would like literally take my lunch and I would go to the library or I'd go to the bathroom and eat my lunch there. So when Muhammad talked to me and he said, I think you would be great for, you know, a role in a film, I was like, you know, most people would be like elated. They'd be like, oh my God. And I was like, I wanted to fall to the floor and be like, oh God. Like serious panic attack. So, you know, I mean, he's told me, we've talked about like 2 or 3 screenplays that he's thinking of. One was named Coma. It's about a woman who's, it kind of is reminiscent to Bodyguard with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. It's a woman who is a writer, and, you know, it depicts like her kind of journey as a writer and who she is in her lifestyle, and then something bad happens to her, and she's, you know, stalked and beaten to death, and she's, you know, like in a coma. And then she comes back out of it, and then she realizes, you know, like, I need to change my life. Like, what's more important in this world? Like, how do I depict myself? How do I depict my writing? Mm-hmm. And so her agency hires her a bodyguard, and she's vehemently against it. She's like, no. Like, she can't stand it, and she's angry, and she hates him, and he is irritating to her. But he protects her, and there's, like, you know, this final great fight scene, and there's all of these things that go back and forth and back and forth. It's a great story, and he wanted me to play that part, and there's been 2 or 3 other things that he's talked to me about that are really amazing ideas, and I keep telling him, I'm like, oh, my God, I've never acted. Like, I feel, like, so, like, underqualified. And he's like, baby love, listen to me. Just, no, shut up. He's like, I am an actor, and I am a director, and I know talent when I see it, and I hear you, and I listen to you speak, and I watch you do things. And he's like, you are going to be wonderful, and I will coach you, and you're going to do it. You're going to be beautiful at it. So he's like, just do it. And so it's like, okay. So it's like, I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to work with him. I don't know which one I'll be doing or if I'll be doing any, but he has 2 or 3 things that he's told me about. So we'll see. But yeah, he makes me feel comfortable about it. So
yeah, you'll definitely have to keep me posted on that. And I'm going to go on record here, and hopefully Muhammad won't kill me for this concept or this comment here, but I thought of a funny idea. I thought it would be funny to see Tom Poe meet up with the Ninja Turtles in a funny way.
Anything's possible. My God, I mean, you know, all ideas are good. That's the one thing that I think is so amazing about Muhammad, and he does, is that he really looks to find good talent, you know, within people, and looks to see, like, what they're capable of, and he'll give them a chance, you know what I mean? Whether it's someone who thinks that they're good on the, you know, the set, and they think that they're a good set designer, or somebody who can act, or somebody who can, you know, do cinematography or things like this. And so he looks for that talent, and he likes to open the door of opportunity to them. So those types of things are always open. And it's unfortunate, you know, that we've had some people who are angry. They're very, very angry that they didn't get in the movie, and that they weren't chosen for this and they weren't chosen for that. And so if you see anything on, you know, the internet or things like that, that's what they're doing. They're angry because they didn't get in. You know what I mean? It's people for their own agenda. So, but he is very trusting, and he is very open, and he always tries to employ the opportunity to anyone. And so that's how he's found a lot of good talent. He's found a lot of good talent, whether it's an actor, whether it's a writer, whether it's, you know, someone who's good with music. you know, he looks for that, and he has the eye for that and the ear for that, and if they want to contribute, it's kind of like a trade-off. Like he gives people an opportunity to be able to showcase what they have and get their name out there. So I think that that's really good. And I told him one time, you know, this is, you know, the protective wife coming out in me, but I was like, baby love, I'm like, oh, you know, having to deal with certain emails and certain people, and I was like, why, and then she just don't talk to them, and just don't this, and he said, honey, he said, I was, you know, didn't know where to go and didn't have anyone to believe in me, and he's like, I knew I had a talent, and he's like, and that's what I'm trying to give other people, so I'm never going to stop doing that. And so I find the ultimate respect in him treating other people that way. And they've also talked back and forth, and I think even with, I don't know, I think with John Claude and with an affiliate with another country media to possibly do a show, kind of how you see like, you know, American Idol or something like that, like America's Next Action Star. And doing something like that. So, you know, I think in the future that people will have the opportunity provided to them to be able to showcase their you know, skills towards this industry. So I think that that's something that's in the works. They have a lot of things in the works. So I think that's something that the fans will be excited about.
Oh, absolutely, Melissa, because I'll give you a good example. If Muhammad would call me, let's say if Muhammad would call me and say, okay, you know, I've got this movie in the U.S. and we're gonna fly you out here and see if you would be good for a part, I would be right on that. Seriously, I would take that opportunity. I wouldn't even take a second. I would be like, I'll be there. That's how bad that I would love to work with Muhammad. So.
Yeah, and I know that he would love that. I know even now, when he's filming his movie and he's, you know, rewriting parts of the screenplay, I think his original concept is probably going to play out to be about 3 hours long of a movie. So he had to go through every single thing and make it about an hour and a half long, because that's what the, you know, contractual agreements and the budgets and everything allow. So he's going to have to do that. So he had to rewrite a lot of things, and he's probably going to make a sequel to his movie, An Eye for an Eye, and it's going to be phenomenal. He talks to me about it, and he tells me what's happening and how, like, you know, the screenplay. I read the screenplay. I read scripts, I looked at everything, and he tells me how it's going to end, and like tears ran down my cheeks. I was like, oh my God, like the storytelling of this man, the detail that he has, in his head, he's not like a puppet monkey, like he's like a creator, like it's crazy. So he's, you know, it's so wonderful, and all the way through, with people and with things, he's always constantly fresh on, okay, you know, this changed with the screenplay, so I'm going to add this person in. This changed with the script, so this person needs to be over here. Like, he has it, you know, back and forth like a ping pong game that I can't comprehend with my own mentality. But, yes, he's always looking for and always is, you know, being a foundation for people who want to be in the acting, you know, business and want to be a storyteller and want to portray those morale. Like, he keeps doing it. He keeps switching things around and employing people. So, yeah, I think that would be great for you. I think that you would do so well. I think that we both know between us there's certain people who have said naughty, naughty things. But you know what? Fido, F it and drive on. You're going to be wonderful. I think you will, and you prove that by the way that you act and by the way that you conduct yourself and by all the joy you give to your friends and your fans and your family. And you're such a blessing. So I think it's going to be great, Justin.
Absolutely, Melissa. And while I get you on here real quickly, I wanted to kind of give you an insight of what I've kind of been playing with the idea. You know, I've been playing with this idea in my head. It's not an actual script, and I've not told Muhammad about it. But I thought, I thought about, his whole concept, how, Tom Poe wants to be remorseful, about breaking JCVD's brother's back. Well, I come up with like a little story that, Tom Poe has a son, which would be played by me, who is in a wheelchair, realistically in a wheelchair, and I somehow get kidnapped by some dangerous people, and Muhammad has to figure out a way to rescue me. He possibly gets JCVD to help him. I mean, it could be a really good story.
Are you going to be from the bleeding womb of Miley?
How did I know you was going to say that?
Because you just know me, Justin. No, in all seriousness, I have a very twisted mind. In all seriousness, the concept that you're saying is very good. I think it's amazing. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing. And I think Muhammad even touched on that. I'm sorry.
But,
God.
I don't know if I ever shared this idea with Muhammad, but it's just an idea that I've been playing with in my head, so.
No, I think it's really good. I do. Muhammad actually, when we were talking with each other, he said, I wish that there was something more on Tong Po, like the story of him and who he was and what he was doing. And I mean, that movie is such a great movie and such a pivotal movie. I mean, of course, when you have your typical people who just watch, multi-million-dollar blockbusters and easy peasy screenplays, but I mean, for the people who really appreciate martial arts and appreciate the storytelling, of movies, which we don't find that type of thing much anymore. It's cinematography, it's shock value, it's, you find a few things here and there, but you don't really find just a good story, you know what I mean? And so I think for the generation that loves that and the generation that sees that, I think that they're looking for something more. They want it continued,
Mm-hmm.
And Muhammad said the same thing. He's had some ideas on it. And so it's like, I think what you have is a really good idea, and I think that they should do something like that. I think people would really, 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 really enjoy it. I think they really would.
Yeah, because I'm honestly, Melissa, I was kind of hesitant to tell Muhammad my idea because, I'm not an actor. I'm just an average person that's a journalist that, does radio. But I just, I kind of got that idea from Muhammad and kind of adapted what he had said in a lot of ways, because he said that he would like to do, some sort of film to where it shows me fighting with honor or something, so.
Yeah. I think it's something that's good to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, I think, I run Muhammad's fan page, and I wish that I overwhelmingly, I can't tell you how many messages come in per day saying, please, 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 please do something with Jean-Claude and Muhammad again. Like they say it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. Kickboxer, Bloodsport, something, anything. They need to be together. Like, people say this, like, ridiculously. Like, that's the main message. And so it's like, I know that I will literally wake up in the morning, I will pour myself a cup of coffee, I will go into the administrator page, and there will be like 50 100, 200, 500 people, please remake a movie with Jean-Claude and Muhammad. Please do it. Please, 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 please. So it's like, I think they should do something like that. So I think Muhammad would be willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Jean-Claude's very busy and he has some projects he's doing, but I think that, I mean, I know Jean-Claude loves Muhammad. I know he, personally, I know that he thinks that he's like a brother to him and that they're so close. It's like he's a comfort to him. I know that they have that relationship with each other, so I hope, you know, I don't know how the whole industry works with, you know, all of the ways that they decide to do anything, but, like, I hope that they do something together. That's what the fans want. The fans want them to do something together again. So I think your idea is not off track. You know what I mean? Like, I think they should do something like that. And I just watched, you know, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, Escape.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, when you know, you look, you know, if you're going to be, like, the type of person who's, like, a cynicist, you're going to look at the thing and you're going to be like, oh, of course, there's a movie being made with, you know, two of the action stars of the 80s and the 90s and blah, blah, blah. They did wonderful together. They were funny. They coincided with their routine. You know what I mean? Like, it made it so wonderful. And so it's like, I think there needs to be more movies like that. It's like the Brat Pack. It's like Ocean's 11. It's like, get your asses together and do something wonderful because you did it and so many people love it, so do it again. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I think what would make this part authentic, Melissa, is there's been a lot of disabled parts played, but you know, by actors that aren't really disabled. I think if you take a person that's really disabled actually playing this part, that would make it 10 times even better in the film.
Yeah, they definitely need to. If the script and the screenplay is going to go in that direction, like what Muhammad said to me, that people need to be a little bit, you know, they need to look at Muhammad as a refuge and not just an enemy. So, like, they're going to have to put something into that to make you put a soft heart into it. You know what I mean? Like you said, like maybe his son or maybe this or maybe that, or he feels bad for what he's done. And so I think, I mean, that's why, I mean, you look at, like, you know, the comics and stuff, and you look at, like, San Diego. That's why people love, you know, they love seeing the heroine, but they love the plight of, you know, the villain, like, changing into a human thing, like a person who has, you know, a intelligible story. And so it's like, that's like a good thing. I think it's a very good thing. And Muhammad's even talked to me about it. He's talked to me about, like, oh, I think we should do something with you know, Tong Po turning around, and, you know, like, I mean, of course, you know, leave it to the experts. I mean, I'm no expert by any creed, but, like, when you leave it to them to do maybe, like, a backstory and you know, like a second story going on in the movie, and they back and forth, so that you know, you actually grow love for the villain, then I think that's, like, a great thing. I think they should do that because it's so iconic. Why should they not? I mean, look at the fan base. Look at the people who love those movies. Like, it's, I mean, they should replicate it. I think they really should replicate it.
Yes, they should, because they could, like, do a backstory, like you're saying, like how Tom Poe became Tom Poe and who he fought to be champion, and, you know, who taught Tom Poe, and, I mean, they could really do a whole backstory, you know, just on that, because in my mind, in all movies, the Sloane Tom Poe battles were classic. I mean, and I hated the way that they ended the series. So I absolutely hated that. So.
Yeah, I don't know much. I'll be 100% honest with you. I know that, like, I've watched pieces and bits from the last bits of movies with Tong Po, with, Sasha and all that. And I haven't, really seen them to the finality of it. But, I was telling Muhammad, I was saying, I think, if you created... Okay, the movie that came into my mind was Australia with Hugh Jackman.
Mm-hmm.
How beautiful and how clear and how pure it was, just to see, a little child with his grandfather, jumping into the water, and how how clarified it was. You got a sense of, understanding, this person's origin and this person's, way of life. And I was thinking, you should do something like that with Tong Po. You should make, a pre-story, a backstory, a preemptive of why this little person turned into such a ruthless thug. You know what I mean? Show this little Asian kid, jumping into a pool of water, and show him, going through Kumat, how do you say it, Justin? Kumate?
Yeah, Kumate.
Kumate classes, maybe seeing something that happened in his life that was, divisional and that was traumatic, and show the backstory to this character, because people love this character. It's iconic to them within their like for martial arts and their like for Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And so, show the backstory to this little character. Show something brilliant. Show something beautiful. Show something to where the audience can see, oh my God, this is why this person turned out this way. This is why he's angry. This is why he's naughty. This is why this, and and then bring it back, to Jean-Claude and work it out. I think that this would be a great thing. And I have no experience, but I just told Muhammad this. I was and he's do you think we should make something, that was more than what it was? And I was yes. Mm-hmm. But the only thing is of course, because Jean-Claude is so busy, and of course it would have to, it would have to be something that he would want to do, and something that would benefit his purposes. But I think the fans would love seeing him again with Muhammad. I think that they would love it.
Oh, absolutely, Melissa. And I want to share two more quick things with you, and then I'll get your final thoughts so we can wrap up the show. One thing that I thought would be funny that I would like to work on Muhammad with is a short film for anti-bullying in school. What I was thinking about doing is having me play this disabled high school student, and you got these three bullies that that's picking on me, and and then I say, okay guys, before we fight, can we at least talk this out? This ain't right, and blah blah blah. And then they'll say, no, we're gonna fight you. And then I'll be something let me use my cell phone for a second. And then I'd be yeah, I talked to them, I tried to reason with them, and maybe they'll see things your way. And then after I get off the phone, here you see Tom Poe come out ready to fight these bullies. And then you'd hear a guy say, don't bully, or Tom Poe may end up at your school. So.
That's cute. That's really cute. I'm sure Muhammad would love to do something like that. I know he would. Mm-hmm. He really is 100%. I know people know him for being a, rough riding, crazy, psychotic, glass-licking, Taiwanese person. He's so loving, and he's so adorable. And he would love to do that. I'm pretty sure he would. Because I even had someone from, I think, India the other day that said, Melissa Qissi, will you give a verbal message in the video saying why it's so important for women to take karate and to protect themselves? And when I talked to Muhammad about it, I'm like, do you think I should do this? And he said, I think you should tell people they should treat people kind and they should be loving to people. And he's like, you shouldn't advocate violence. He's so cute. I'm like, you're Tong Po. Like, you like freaking, I won't say the word, F people up.
and licking glass.
I know. So he said, no, baby, I know I did these things with movies, but he's like, we need to teach people to stick up for people who need help and to not do these bad things. And so I think that he would love doing that. Like, that's his message. He really is, like, adorable, like, that way. Like, he's 100% true. Like, Muhammad Qissi is a loving, sweet human being. Like, he's honest. I'm not just saying this because he's my husband. Like, he really is a sweet human being, like a loving, genuine person. So anything, if you tell him to advocate, like not bullying and no to drugs, like he'll do it. He will love it.
Well, I think he would actually love my concept because it's kind of funny in a way, because in the end, you know, everybody pretty much knows who Tom Poe is, and you know, nobody's going to want to fight Tom Poe, so you know. So. But,
yeah.
One thing I wanted to share with you and my audience, and of course you already know this, but as people probably know, I went for a scope procedure to see what was going on with me, which they figured out what was going on, and I got to see a surgeon to see if I need surgery on March 6th. Well, you know, even though it's just like a little, you know, scope thing, I had never had that done, so I was a little bit, you know, nervous. I was talking to the male nurse, and you know, and I said, you guys better take care of me, or you know, I know some very important people that can, you know, make you disappear, and all I have to do is make one phone call. And I said, don't worry if I'm unconscious to make the phone call. I've got him on speed dial, so my mother can make the call. And he says, so all do you know? I said, well, first of all, I said, have you ever heard of the movie Bloodsport? He's like, yeah, Frank Dukes. I said, Frank is my instructor. And then I said, have you ever seen the movie Kickboxer? He says, yeah, Tong Po. I said, Tong Po is a friend of mine, and all I have to do is call him up and say that I was, you know, mistreated and blah, blah, blah. And his reaction, Melissa, was, holy shit, I don't want to end up in a wall. Please don't call Tom Poe. I will make sure and tell these guys to take really good care of you. So.
That's cute. That's so cute.
So,
and you know Muhammad would too.
So I mean that was hilarious, and I said I also threw in there, I said, I will even personally pay Muhammad's plane ticket just to get done what needs done if necessary.
Oh, he is that way. Like, as a wife, like, looking at him, and he's, like, capable of doing all these things, I'm like, but the reality is he's such a little sweet baby. He's so sweet.
Yeah, that was just my way of being more safe and you know.
Oh, of course.
You know,
yeah.
you know, got to crack jokes, you know. So.
Yeah, of course. No, he is funny like that. Like, so I'm sure he would love that. That's cute.
So, but before we end the show, Melissa, and you can take as much time as you need, and I do appreciate you being on the show and everything. And do you have any final? And this can be about anything. It can be about you. It can be about Tong Po. Do you have any final thoughts for my audience on the Justin Harvey Show?
I just think that what you're doing is amazing and brilliant, and I love you so much. As a person, I've got to know you. I've got to know you as a human being, and I can say that I'm so proud of you and the person you are, and your loving little mommy. And when I look at your little brother's face, like, my heart overfills with love and joy. And I know that you're doing something wonderful and great. And me and Muhammad both love you so much. And you have to know that there's so many people who talk to him and talk to me and, you know, say this and say that, this, that, and the other. But we truly, truly, truly both, you're a friend in our life. And we love you so much, and we're so proud of you. And we thank you so much for being so strong and so loving and so sweet. And you literally, you're the type of person that makes life beautiful, that makes life so affectionate and opens the heart. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is phenomenal. So we both always, Justin, talk about you and revere you as our friend, and we love you so much. And thank you for everything you do, baby love.
See that, ladies and gentlemen, dreams do come true if you want them bad enough. And also, I want to say to my audience, one day I will end up meeting my good friends Muhammad Qissi and Melissa Qissi, and we're going to get photos together, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be up on my Facebook and Twitter pages. So, I mean, that's going to be in the works. It's going to happen one day. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and that's a wrap.